Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Way morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 7th of October. My name is Ryan McGinley. Delighted to have you all on this morning, and today I'm joined by Josh McCarthy. Josh, how are you doing this morning on this dreary Tuesday?
Yeah, it seems like a typical international break day, doesn't it, Ryan? Not much happening, not much going on. But Celtic won at the weekend, finally, which was good to see. So, yeah, we've got some stuff to discuss today as well.
Yeah, we've actually got some positives to talk about, which is good. We've not had you on since before the game, so thought we would talk about some of Celtic versus Motherwell. Even though there was some negatives, in fact, there was plenty of negatives in that game. We'll try and talk about the positives a little bit more today. Let's get us all in a better frame of mind. Celtic are only 2 points behind at this moment in time. But yeah, first of all, before we go in and talk about today's topics, I'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsors for this video and all of our videos. At the moment, it's Simply Furniture. They're located in Hillington, Glasgow. It's Simply Furniture is an independent brand dedicated to bringing luxury and contemporary style into homes across the UK. With over a decade of experience in furniture retail, they meticulously source only the finest pieces, curated for quality, comfort and timeless design. From elegant sofas to statement dining sets, their handpicked collections offer exceptional value without compromising on style. Their dedicated team ensures your furniture is delivered with care right to your doorstep. If you want to see the beauty up close, visit their stunning showroom and mention the Celtic Way for a special in-store discount, and all of their links to their socials and their website are in the description below this video. Josh, I presume, I think I seen that I saw on social media that you were at the game on Sunday afternoon. It was a bit of a weird one. Definitely put through the ringer. I think those in attendance certainly. Well, I said the same for both teams. Motherwell and Celtic. It was a dramatic game. Celtic took the lead through Iheanacho, who got his first goal at Celtic Park after 3 attempts. Two VAR decisions going against him, but he got the penalty and he dispatched it with ease. Then there was 2 goals from the Motherwell striker, who is Australian, who I'm not going to butcher his name. It's a bit of a mouthful. I don't know if you want to give it a go, Josh.
Apostolos Stamatolopoulos. Does that sound all right?
Better you than me, Josh. Thank you very much for doing that and getting me out of a hole there. Yeah, he scored his first goal with a good header, and then Marcelo Sirachi took down his marker in the box, and after VAR intervened, it was given as a penalty, and it was a good finish by the Australian striker. Benjamin Nygren then came up. We'll talk about him a little bit more in a couple of minutes with a good equaliser before Daizen Maeda was in the right place at the right time to capitalise on a ball into the box by Michel-Ange Balikwisha to make it 3-2 to Celtic on the day. A big result. You were there, Josh. What were your thoughts on the game?
It was actually a very entertaining game of football, to be fair. I think the way Motherwell played certainly made it an enjoyable match to watch, constantly looking to play it for the back. I know it cost them a goal in the second half, the equaliser, but they were moments away from getting a result out of the game, so fair play to them. In terms of Celtic, obviously, Brendan Rodgers said that after the game, but they're still a long way away from being their best version, but all you can do when you're not your best version is try and win games of football, and that's what they've done. The Daizen Maeda pulled them out of the mire at the death. I was so pleased for him to get the goal. I'm sure everyone watching the game will have noticed that he was very poor when he played on the right-hand side in the first half. But then when he moved to the left-hand side, he just looked like a totally different player. He just looked better. And, well, who knows that playing your best player in his natural position makes him look better. And then he plays up front and he obviously gets the goal as well. So that was good. In terms of Iheanacho as well, keeping up his scoring record and Nygren too. So, yeah, Celtic still look disjointed. They still don't look fully fluid. But, listen, they won the game. And I think that could be a massive weekend in terms of the season as a whole. Rangers, when Rangers were 1-0 up in Falkirk and Celtic were, 2-1 down at home to Motherwell, the gap between the two is 4 points. At the end of the game, after a couple of goals in each match, it's then down to 9 points. So it could be a crucial weekend in the context of the season, and Celtic just getting over the line. That's what, like we say all the time, when Celtic score a last-minute winner, it's what champions do. I was pleased for Michel-Ange Balikwisha to get the assist for the goal as well, and put out on Twitter that Brendan Rodgers has said since I'm joining Celtic, for him it's been a bit of a blur, realising that expectation, the pressure. So hopefully for him that can be the start of something where we fully see the best of Balikwisha in a Celtic jersey. So, yeah, there's certainly not a lot, some negatives, but on the whole, I think you can take the positives out of that. But as much as I say it could be a big win, it could be a turning point win, we'll only really know that when Celtic return to action against Dundee a week on Sunday. That's when we'll really know if it's been a turning point and they start playing their football. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, Benjamin Nygren set the ball, got the ball rolling with that equaliser 10 minutes after coming on. He came on in the 59th minute and he then scored in the 69th minute. So it was not an immediate impact, but a really quick impact from the midfielder, and it was good to see him getting capitalising on the error by the Motherwell goalkeeper and a really good finish. Although I think he should have probably scored a couple of minutes later. I think he had another chance that he squandered that he really should have done better with this season. He was speaking after the game. These quotes came out at 6 p.m. yesterday. He was talking about Celtic's win over Motherwell. He said, when the other subs and I came on, we said that we needed to go for a goal every single time. We needed to chase the goals because we were down 2-1, and I think we did so immediately when we came on. We took over the game and created chances, and then the goals came. It was a difficult game, but I think we really showed a lot of mentality and heart in the second half to chase the win. In the end, we got it. I think we showed character and we stuck together as a team. And he went to say, we do that always, and I think we really showed a good team mentality. He's a player that I tweeted about this yesterday, and a lot of people were agreeing with me on X when I put out the tweet that even though he's still finding his feet at Celtic, he's a player that's already making an impact, and you can see that in the stats with the goals and assists. He's got 8 goal contributions, 4 goals and 4 assists in all competitions this season for Celtic, and he is making an impact whether he's coming off the bench or starting in games. More often than not, he is there or thereabouts when it comes to Celtic's positive play. What has been your overall impression of Benjamin Nygren so far, Josh?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it's been wholly positive, Ryan. Sometimes he gets criticism for his performances and kind of going missing in games. But if you're putting up those numbers and you're consistently contributing with goals and assists, people can't really complain about your performances, to be honest. 8 goals and assists in 13 games is pretty good. I think he made a really positive impact on the game at the weekend when he came on. I think he's done that the last couple of times he's come on as a substitute, even against Hibs. I thought he was one of the better subs who come on. But yeah, just on his celebration for his goal at the weekend got a lot of people talking. I think he was the only player who kind of ran off to celebrate, and obviously that's maybe not the mentality you want to see. And I was glad Iheanacho went over and had a word with him and got him back in. That was really good to see. I thought Iheanacho's mentality was top at the weekend. Even the scene, just seeing him running up the touchline at the death and how he was acting in the dugout, that was brilliant. But Nygren, a lot of people were criticising him for kind of cupping his ears to the support. But if you go back, that's been a celebration his whole career. He's just done that everywhere he's been, whether it be for Nordsjælland or the Swedish national team or Celtic previously. I think the criticism people are having is that he celebrated. But if Iheanacho has a word with him, goes away, tells him to get back in, that's I'm absolutely fine with that, as long as he doesn't do it again.
Yeah, I think he will be told not to do that, especially... Well, he can do it all he wants when Celtic are winning games and he wants to hear the crowd and he wants to G up the crowd. But when it's an equaliser and Celtic are still chasing and they're X amount of points behind the league leaders' hearts, I don't think a celebration is really the best thing to do in that moment. But I'm sure there'll be a quiet word in his ear. I'm sure Iheanacho gave him a quiet word in his ear too, which was, as you said, so good to see from a player whose own attitude was maybe questioned prior to him joining the club on what Iheanacho Celtic were going to get. But my goodness, he's locked in and he's ready to go and ready to. I think it's only really physical issues that he would probably have an issue with now, and even then he looks quite fit and ready to go. It's just all about if he can finish games at the moment, but he looks ready and willing and able to do whatever Brendan Rodgers asks him to do, especially through the middle for Celtic, which is great to see. Just going back to Benjamin Nygren's comments, he was then asked about the league position of Hearts. Now, Hearts were 5 points clear going into the game at the weekend, into Celtic's game at the weekend over Motherwell, and Celtic cut that down to 2. That's the way it stays over the international break for the next couple of weeks until both teams play again. Celtic play Hearts later this month at Tynecastle, which is already shaping up to be a massive game between the top two sides. sides in the league at the moment. He was asked about the league table and his response was quite bullish, like he is with a lot of the questions to the media, to be honest. He's quite good with the media, quite trusted to put out the right message, which is good to see. He said, to be honest, I've not checked the table too much, he admitted. It's a long season and the focus is on us. We need to put in strong performances and then we'll be at the top of the table. The supporter behind the team really felt that they were with us for the last 30 minutes when we were chasing, and that really helps. We need to use this now and we need to keep on going. It's an international break, but when we come back, we need to build on this to really come to our top level. We need to use this as a springboard. It's a very similar answer to what Brendan Rodgers gave after the game, where he's like, he's not really looking at the league table. That seems to be maybe the stock answer and amongst the Celtic players at the moment. Maybe they've been told or pointed in the right direction to say that, but it is the right message. Celtic have got to focus on themselves and hopefully the rest will follow, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, it probably, excuse me, is the truth. To be honest, I mean, you were only 7 games into the season. I think people at Hearts have been asked that as well. Craig Halkett was one of the guys who spoke to the media after the Edinburgh Derby one. He was kind of saying they're not even looking at the table yet either. So it probably is the case. I mean, you can't really judge where teams are maybe until they've played each other. Everyone's played each other once, or maybe everyone's played each other twice. That's when you get a real gist of who's going to be up there and what the positions are going to look like. But yeah, that's obviously Celtic aren't getting too caught up in all the storm of what's happening in Edinburgh now. They're not too fussed about it. I think, I mean, Celtic have only drawn 2 games, so it's not a disaster. There's still a lot of time to go in the season, but I'm just really intrigued to see how this Hearts challenge goes. Whether they keep it up. Obviously, I think it was a really big moment for them at the weekend when they got that goal right at the death to win the Edinburgh Derby. That could be massive for them. But Celtic going there 2 weeks on Sunday, it's a huge game. You know, Celtic, if they lose that game, all of a sudden you go 5 points behind Hearts, and the challenge is very much real. Or Celtic have the opportunity to go there and really put that challenge and calm it down and go and get a win and put themselves back to the top of the table. We'll just have to wait and see. But back to Nygren, yeah. On the whole, been impressed with him. I mean, I think you sign them for what? Just 1.7 million or thereabouts. It's proved to be a really shrewd piece of business, to be fair, but only if Celtic could do that type of business early in the window and at the same time as Nygren was brought in for the first day of pre-season, and have guys like Tenecti and Balikwisha coming in at that time. But that's we've had enough of those complaints over the past couple of months, haven't we?
We have, yeah, and we've spoke about that at length. It would be good if you had 5 or 6 Nygrens in and around the team that you've got. Shrewd. It was really good business by Celtic, and I think you've got to call a spade a spade. They've had a lot of criticism for the way that they've been dealing with things, and that's been deserved, completely merited for the way that they've handled the transfer window. But that was one of the success stories. The fact that they saw that opportunity at the end of the year, the fact that his contract was up at the end of the year, they could put in. You know, he would have cost a lot more, maybe cost double or treble what Celtic spent on him. But they managed to find that loophole in his contract, or the fact that it was expiring at the end of the year, and brought him in for a cut price deal. And he's already contributing, and I think the performances will come as well. I'm delighted that he's getting the goals and the assists, but once he can put that into a full performance, then you won't be taking him out of the team, because he's a goal threat and he makes things happen from all over the park. I thought his attitude, apart from the celebration at the weekend, was absolutely spot on. He was focused on getting Celtic the result. Even I watched back the highlights on Celtic TV again yesterday, and he was the one trying to get things going quickly, doing quick throw-ins, trying to make things happen in different positions, and that's good to see that he had that belief that Celtic were going to go and get the second goal and was pushing his team forward. So even though he's only been at the club a matter of 3-4 months, he's already understanding what it means to play for Celtic, and he's contributing on the park, which is good to see. He then went on to talk about 2 of the players that have come under quite a bit of stick recently. These 2, Daizen Maeda and Michel-Ange Balikwisha. He talked about the latter first for putting in the cross to Daizen Maeda. He was saying that he was very, very pleased. In fact, that's Daizen Maeda's comments. I was running to Michel-Ange to celebrate with him. I was so happy for him that he made a great pass to Daizen to win the game. Every player in the team is important, so I'm very happy for him. Then on Daizen Maeda, he said, I was very pleased for Dyson. I was so happy for the whole team and for all of the home support. I love to hear that song, which is the Dyson Maeda Tequila song, which was obviously great to hear, and it was really loud at the weekend. Those are good comments, and it shows that the team's together. But those two have been under fire in recent weeks. Balikwisha for not really making a big impact when coming onto the pitch. Dyson Maeda for his, maybe people question his mentality, given the fact that he was maybe out the door, potentially nearly out the door in the summer. But both of those guys came up trumps for Celtic and made the difference.
Yeah, definitely. As I alluded to earlier, Balikwisha could be the start of his Celtic career fully getting going, and that's what you want to see. It's actually a good pass from Arne Engels in the first place, actually, into Balikwisha. Takes 2 or 3 guys out of the game, and then he looks sharp when he came on. Actually, I think that's probably one of his best cameos, Balikwisha. He's kind of looked, I don't know, slow, not great. A couple of times before he's come on and even started for Celtic at Ibrox, didn't look great, but he's had a good 3-4 weeks now to bed into life here, and you just hope he fully starts to get going now. In terms of Dyson Maeda, Celtic are just in a really tough position, and it's their own doing that they have a lopsided attack. They've got players. They've only got Yang and James Forrest on the right wing, who I both think we would agree should not be starting for Celtic on a consistent basis. So you're, as a result, having to shift one of your left wingers, and I think Celtic have 3 left wingers who could all start in every game. Tineke, Balikwisha, and Maeda are all worthy of probably starting in most games. And you're having to shift one of them over to the right-hand side, where clearly Maeda isn't great. We've seen that in the past couple of games. Balikwisha is not great. Tineke, we've not seen him on the right-hand side yet, but he's only played there a handful of times throughout his career. So it's a really bad situation for Brendan Rodgers, to be honest, having to do a lot of juggling in terms of who's going to play on that right-hand side. But yeah, when Maeda comes over to the left, it's just a reminder that what he can do, and then when he's put up front as well, what he can do to, coming up with it. And it was a typical, Dyson Maeda goal. I look at some of his performances when he's played up front in Belgrade, when he was hooked at half-time, a European away game at a tough away venue. He was expected to hold the ball up, length of play. When he's playing as a striker, that's not his game. His game is latching onto crosses like he did for his goal at the weekend, being in and around the box, and being quick and nippy and latching onto things, and that's where he's best. And it's no surprise that when he had that role at the weekend, he managed to score, and it was a crucial goal. And even him question marks maybe over his decided commitment, which I think at times are warranted, given what happened and what the situation was. But there were no kind of concerns over that when you seen him running away in celebration, screaming to the air. When he slid on his knees and looked up to the sky, it just looked like it was a bit of a relief for him, to get that goal, which was great to see. And I think the song going around the stadium was really nice, and it was a really nice moment for him.
Yeah, it certainly was, and it was a similar sort of relief he had at Rugby Park as well. I don't want him to be getting too not comfortable. Maybe comfortable is not the word to use there, but I don't want him feeling relieved every time he scores a goal for Celtic, because he was scoring goals nearly every week for Celtic last season. It can't be something that happens every 2 or 3 weeks. He needs to be scoring every week, 2 weeks, because his goal contributions were so important last season. And until Jota returns, until other players can start scoring goals, you look at Tineke, maybe Forrest as well, Yang on the other side. His goals are going to be so important for the team this season. Could add Johnny Kenny to that list as well as other players that maybe aren't even quoted at the moment. Goals, despite Celtic scoring 3 at the weekend, previously they've been hard to come by, and I'm glad that Maeda was part of that goal flurry that happened at the weekend for Celtic, and that he can go away and come back and be a goal scorer once again for Celtic. Was there anybody else, just before we touch on some of the questions that people have put into the comments section, was there anybody else that stood out for you, both positively or negatively, in Sunday's performance against Motherwell? Particularly looking at the defence, other members of the midfield, Hatate and McCowan didn't really make too much of an impact through the mid. Maybe question marks over Tineke as well. Was there any other players that stood out positively or negatively for you?
For me, I don't think Tony Ralston had his greatest game again, which is not ideal. The centre halves, Scales and Carter-Vickers, they've been relatively solid this season. And I know they conceded 2 goals, one of them being a penalty. I don't think they really put foot wrong at times. Sriracha, he gives away a penalty, had some loose passes as well. I don't think it was his best day at the office. In terms of the midfield, like you say, Hatate and McCowan didn't really do much in the game, hence why they were both brought off as substitutes. Arne Engels, I mean, I know he plays the pass, and behind it's a really good pass for the goal. He did look to me like a bit of a bull in a china shop at times. He was making fouls left, right and centre. I thought he gave away a number of them quite clumsy fouls as well in the middle of the park. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, I don't think there were any players who you thought, oh, he was absolutely brilliant today. There weren't any particular like top standouts, but it was a real collective effort, and it was a team effort, and it was a big win for the team and the players as a whole. And for players like the new arrivals like Kelechi Iheanacho, like Balikwisha, Tenekte, Sirachi, guys like that, I think it's really positive and key for them to feel a moment like that at Celtic Park. It's the first kind of 1-0 they've had where it's been a last-minute goal. It's been frantic. The fans have got right behind the team for the last 30, 20 minutes of the game, and them really feeling the power of that. And that's only a game against Motherwell at home. What could that be like when you're playing in a European game against Roma in a couple of months, or if you're playing Rangers at Celtic Park? I think it was really positive for them to feel that for the first time as Celtic players.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up the league table now. That is what the current standings are in the Scottish Premiership. As you can see, Hearts are on top with 19 points. Celtic are second on 17. If you look further down the table, Rangers are currently in 8th place alongside, well, it's like a joint at 8th place, 8th, 7th and 6th with Motherwell, who all have identical records. It's just the goal difference that's 1 or 2 between them. It's a bit of a weird Premiership table at the moment. Kilmarnock have, I don't know about you, Josh, they've slowly just crept up that table and kept on, and not really been losing too many games. They've only lost 1 game this season, those draws, but getting 2 wins, 2 wins will bring you up to 3rd, 4th place, which just shows you the topsy-turvy nature of that Premiership at the moment. Other teams such as Dundee United, their next game is against Rangers in the Scottish Premiership. St Mirren doing well too. Aberdeen, despite getting that 4-0 win over Dundee at the weekend, they still are at the bottom of the table with just 4 points, though they're only 2 points behind the Dundee, the team that they beat 4-0. So it'll be interesting to see how those two teams do together. I'm going to bring in some of the questions that have been brought up by the commenters, and we appreciate everybody for commenting, whether you're just popping in to say hi or you want to pose a question to the two of us. We really do appreciate it. If you want to support us just a little bit more, to those who aren't in the comments section, please subscribe and you'll get access to the comments box as well. We would love to answer all of your questions if possible, or as many as we can on the day. Plunge is always in the comments. Thank you very much, Plunge McNugget. Morning, dudes. Any news on the meeting in the Big Ten? There's also somebody else, AR, saying what was discussed last night. Paul Barrow says update on last night's meeting, guys. Now, we've not heard anything official yet, so we don't want to be projecting anything before either the Celtic Fans Collective or, maybe more unlikely, the club come out and speak about the aforementioned meeting. We know that it did take place last night, but we've not heard anything concrete about what actually happened between the two. So we're going to talk in hypotheticals here, Josh. What would you hope would have been the case last night between the fans that were at the meeting and the board who represented the club?
Yeah, well, you'd hope for clarity from the club. You'd hope for them to be honest about what happened in the summer, honest about how the club has been run, how the transfer process is carried out, be honest about who briefed against Brendan Rodgers and the press. So yeah, I think that's all you're wanting is honesty, and as well as that, you're wanting to find out how they're going to change things going forward in a positive manner, what alterations they're going to make, because there are clearly a number of facets at the club, and people at the club as well, who aren't fit for purpose in their jobs, or processes that aren't fit for purpose. Clearly in the transfer market that is the case. So you want to know what they're going to do. Have there been reviews taking place? We're already over a month on from the summer transfer window. We sit here in the 7th of October. The window's shut on September the 1st or 2nd or thereabouts. So has there been a review? These are all questions we don't know, and I think a lot of clubs across Europe, across Scotland and England, provide their supporters with a lot more clarity than what Celtic do. They put a lot of public information out there. They have a sit down with the sporting director, manager to review what happened. They've had absolutely none of that from Celtic. Yes, so you just want some clarity, some steps for what's going to happen going forward. But will all of those things happen? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what the official releases from this meeting are.
Yeah, and we would expect that release to be in the next day or so, either today or tomorrow. You would expect them to be quite prompt in their releasing of whatever transpired last night. I think it's important that the Celtic Fans Collective update the wider support on what happened, because they are representing the wider Celtic support that couldn't be present at that meeting last night, and it is important, positively or negatively. What transpired last night has to be brought back to the support so that they can know the next steps, whether there will be more protest, whether the relationship between the supporters and the club or those representatives is better than what it was at the weekend, because we saw certain images, certain banners that were put up in specific places, certain chants that were getting sung even after Celtic scored goals. That it's a tetchy place at the moment, Celtic Park. It was tetchy anyway with the way the result was going up until the last couple of minutes. Yes, there was that euphoric moment when Daizen Maeda got the winner, but there still is that uncertainty. I've likened it to a dormant volcano where it's always there, it's always waiting to just erupt at any moment, really. So it's a situation that needs to be clarified and sorted for the betterment of everybody involved with it, whether that be the club themselves, the players that will feel the effects of the supporters have to be briefed better, and we'll see what happens over the coming days. But fingers crossed, it's a good resolution. Though I am not really holding my breath, unfortunately, because we've been here before with the club. Unfortunately, Hazel Finn came in and said Iheanacho has got Celtic already. Completely agree with that. I think everybody's seen the videos coming out, both the unique angles and some of the fan cams as well for Iheanacho. He was kicking every ball after Celtic scored that third goal at the weekend. It was quite funny. It was I don't know, was it Chewing the Fat, where they were both doing the same tactics at the same, only an excuse. I can't remember exactly what it was in. That's what it was like with Brendan Rodgers and Kelechi Iheanacho. They were both doing the same thing. It was almost like mirroring each other, but it's good that he wants to kick every ball and get the win for Celtic. Yeah, Iheanacho, he's contributing in every single game. Not every goal contribution has stood, but he has in every game made an impact, and that's good to see, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the whole commitment thing is really good to see as well, just given what people thought he would be when he came to Celtic. Is it going to be a last hurrah of his career where he's just coming up for a payday? Obviously, how he was at Middlesbrough kind of raised a lot of questions among people, but it's been really good to see him really take to Celtic. And I mean, it's a phrase that's probably overused, but he does get Celtic. It's he has that mentality, the character, and I think he's probably the exact leader that this group of players needed at this point in time. There's a lot of players coming in who are new, who maybe when they've got to Celtic, Michelangelo Balikwisha is a good example. He doesn't really get the pressure and the expectation that comes with playing for a club like Celtic, but Iheanacho has understood that straight away, and that's the character you need in that dressing room. And as well as that, he is a quality player too. He's contributing with goals, assists, and he's added a lot to the front line. So yeah, I think he'll be a really big player for Celtic going forward the rest of this season. You just hope he stays fit on a consistent basis, touch wood. So yeah, I think he's already got 3 goals. I think he can definitely hit 20 or more this season.
I think he brings a bit of prestige to the forward line as well. The fact that he's played in the Premier League, he's done it. I think he was Leicester's Player of the Year in 2021 or 21-22. The year escapes me, but I know he was Leicester's best player that year, and he scored something around 19 goals in all competitions that season. He was a real standout player, and he was getting touted for bigger moves because he was at Manchester City. He was I remember in particular, he was a super sub for Manchester City. He was coming off the bench and making things happen for his team, but he wanted regular football, so he joined Leicester. And Leicester were on the up at that point. They'd just won the league maybe a season or two before, and they were looking for a striker that could lead the line. And he was certainly a player that could do so. Had his ups and downs. Went to Sevilla, didn't happen for him. Went to Middlesbrough. That video was shared of him not looking as mobile as what he should. I think a lot of Celtic supporters, quite understandably, had that in his head when he joined the club, that this was the Kelechi Iheanacho that he was going to get. But I think what maybe was forgotten is the fact that Brendan Rodgers has been the manager that's got the best tune out of Kelechi Iheanacho in his whole career, and you add Manchester City into that debate as well. Out of all of the seasons that he's played, it's the seasons under Brendan Rodgers where he's been at his most impactful, and that's already the case with Celtic. He's brought a bit of prestige to that forward line, and he looks as if he's going to be a main player for Celtic. So I'm happy with the goal involvements that he's had already, with the camaraderie he's got with players off the pitch, especially with the captain, Callum McGregor, hugging him after the Kilmarnock goal. But there was a big hug after the win against Motherwell too. That shows that he respects the hierarchy in the team as well, but he wants to be the main man going forward for Celtic, and I've got no problem with that. Kasper Schmeichel again was talking before the match. I know you got those quotes for us, Josh, that he'd stole his speaker as well. So he's already hogging the music in the dressing room, which is what I want to hear as well, because as good as it is a player doing well on the pitch, the fact that he's settling so quickly off the pitch can only help, and vice versa with both of those requirements as a Celtic player, both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, I think I said at the time when he came to Celtic, it was Brendan Rodgers wouldn't be bringing him to the club if he thought he wasn't going to really contribute and just come up for a last hurrah in his career. But certainly he's made an impact. Like you say, Kasper Schmeichel, it was before the Braga game, he was kind of saying that Kelechi obviously is he's a real character in the dressing room, controlling the music and stuff like that, and it's that stuff's really nice to hear, because he's only been in the door a couple of weeks, but he seems like that type of character who's really taken to the squad. And I think the younger players in the team, guys like Tunekti, Balakwisha, who've just come in from elsewhere, they'll respect Iheanacho just because of the career he's had, over 50 caps for Nigeria, winning the FA Cup, Community Shield, having a spell at Manchester City. They'll look up to him as a real figure that they can look to replicate in terms of a career. So yeah, it's crucial you have guys like that in the squad, the likes of your Schmeichels, your McGregors, your Iheanachos, who have that experience at the top level and who understand what it is to play for a club like Celtic.
Yeah, I'm just bringing up another wee question, or a statement that we can turn into a question, Josh. Doko said, thought Tenetki's looking slightly one-dimensional. I think that's 3 or 4 games in a row now where he's not had a goal contribution. He started like a house on fire for Celtic, and this is unfortunately the criticism that's going to be lobbied at him. When you start well, the fact that you can't keep it up for some games. What's your thoughts on Tenekti? This week I'll be speaking to a couple of people, hopefully, to learn more about his journey to Celtic, because he started off in Norway, had a spell in the Netherlands too on loan at Groningen, which didn't go so well for him, but he's at Celtic after joining from Hammarby. Started really well, but now he's had a wee bit of a dip in form, or a dip in involvement in the goals. What's your take on Tenetki? Nothing to worry about with him? Is it just the fact that he's slowed down a wee bit after a great start?
Yeah, I think it's when you have a start like he did, he was straight out of the box, lightning quick, playing very well, man of the match in his first 2 games. Yeah, I said at the time, I think, saying you can't expect him to keep up this level in every single game going forward. He's still only a young player, adapting to a new environment, a new club, new teammates, new manager, what's expected of him. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of been no surprise to me, to be honest, that he's not maybe kept up that record of scoring goals and getting assists. But I don't think his performances obviously he's still a great player, and I think he'll still be massive for Celtic this season. And they probably, once the team come back after international break, a bit more goals and assists. But he was unlucky not to score against Braga the weekend as well. Last week as well. He forced a really good save out there, goalkeeper in the second half. I thought he was one of Celtic's better players, if not their best player in that Braga game, to be honest. So yeah, I don't have any real concerns over Sebastian Tenekti at the minute. I just think it's probably just a natural drop off after starting really, really quickly.
Yeah, completely understandable, and hopefully he can use this international break to sort of take stock on his successful start to his Celtic career so far, and then work into going into those next fixtures, because he will be important for Celtic. But the good thing is, now Celtic have got options in that left wing position, whether it be you put Daizen Maeda back there, you put Balakwisha there, or you continue to stick with Sebastian Tenekti, which is good for options, but perhaps we would want to see a little bit more options on that right hand side which is, and Brendan Rodgers has made it clear himself that it is a problem area. He's not even holding it back anymore in press conferences. He's making it clear that is an area that Celtic need to strengthen in January. Should have happened in the summer, but they're just going to have to make do with what they've got until January. But you would hope in the opening week or two of the January transfer window that a signing can be made in that area. There was a comment that somebody brought in. Jason said exactly, Josh, the right wing is our biggest problem. Perhaps AJ returning might provide a decent backup there. In the fullback area, I think it would be great to have Alistair Johnson back in the side, and I'm looking forward to him being there. Perhaps it could help a player like Maeda, who's playing out of position, potentially play there. James Forrest, if he can make an impact. Next game's against Dundee. A couple of seasons ago, James Forrest had a great game against Dundee at Dens Park. Yang can come back into the side, even though he's been in and out of the squad. So I guess that's my final sort of point to you before we finish off the show. That right wing position, it's got to be an area that Celtic strengthen in January.
Oh, 100%. It's that's got to be first on the agenda. I mean, I think the club should already in the next couple of weeks and months be looking at right winger targets so that come the 1st of January. I mean, this is not going to happen, let's be honest. We know the way Celtic operate, but they should be, if they were a world class club, be looking at players now to sign at the beginning of January and have them in the door in the 2nd or the 3rd of the month to have them in the squad, because Brendan Rodgers is already addressing it. He was addressing it in September. That's a problem position. So make the moves just now and get the players out scouted and such, so that you can bring them in at the beginning of January, because it's a problem position. Even obviously Alistair Johnston coming back will make a big impact, because we know the threat he can provide going forward on that right hand side, but at the same time you still need someone else there. It's either Yang or James Forrest, who are both not good enough to start, or someone playing out of position. That's the situation you're in, and it's not an ideal situation, so we need to sign someone in January, definitely.
Yeah, and Brendan Rodgers just isn't going to play Michel-Ange Balikwisha there, judging by his comments. He's saying that's his actual quote, his actual words that he said was, "That's on me for playing him on the right wing," because he's clearly not a right winger. Unfortunately for Celtic, it would be great if they could have Tenekte and Balikwisha on either side, so they could have both new wingers attacking for Celtic alongside Iheanacho through the middle. But unfortunately, unless they're really struggling, that won't be the case, I don't think. But Josh, thank you so much for being on the show this morning. Really appreciate all your input and your opinions. Thank you to each and every one of the people in the comments section. If you like what we do, please give us a wee subscribe on the YouTube channel. It's completely free. Or if you want to help support us just a little bit more, you can go to www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Right now we've still got our £1 for 6 months offer. You'll have all the latest news, the latest exclusive interviews. We've got interviews with Christopher Julian, Matt O'Reilly, so many different people that we spoke to over the past year or so. So they are all available in the archives on our website, so check that out, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Thank you once again to It's Simply Furniture for sponsoring this video. We really do appreciate it. Josh, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Been another good morning, and I'm sure it won't be long before Celtic are back in action.
Yeah, one day closer to Celtic coming back in it. I think it's 11 days now until the Dundee day. The Dundee game, not that I'm counting. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us this morning. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow to discuss all things Celtic. Until then, have a very good Tuesday. Cheers, guys.